Is the suburb you're planning to buy or sell in a hot commodity? Or is it like Goldilocks' second bowl of porridge, just too cold? Hey everybody, it's Alyson with Live South Denver, your real estate strategist and realtor for the South Denver area. How do you know if the area that you're focused on is competitive? How do you get yourself in the right frame of mind for your house hunt? And sellers, how do you know if you're essentially fishing in a stocked pond with your listing or not? One of the easiest ways is by measuring days on market. Inventory is useful too, but knowing how quickly properties are moving will tell you a lot. Today, we are looking at the average days on market for the South Denver suburbs, and we're going to compare it to the average days on market for the whole metro area. And you're going to quickly see how the suburbs are stacking up to each other as well. First up, let's set our baseline. The average days on market for the whole Denver metro area since the start of 2024 is 36 days. Now, let's move into the suburbs and let's start from south and go north, which brings us down to Castle Rock first. Since the start of the year, the average days on market for all of Castle Rock is 42 days. So they do not outshine the average for the Denver metro area. However, if we back out new construction and we just look at existing homes, so if we take homes that were built from 2022 or earlier, we just leave the 2023s and 24s out, that changes things quite drastically. Then the average days on market drops from 42 down to 33. The reason we take the new builds and separate them out, which we'll do for several different communities, is that builders will market their homes from the time they essentially get the permits back from the county, and they can sit in the MLS for 6 months, maybe more. We will see them in there for hundreds of days sometimes, so it really can skew the data. And the builder is known to increase the price, not decrease the price. They'll change incentives, take them away, add them. It doesn't function on the new build side the way it does on the existing home side in terms of pull and push in the marketplace. If we see an existing home sit on the market for 100 days, we're expecting some serious price cuts on that home. You see a new build home on the market for 100 days, it may not mean anything to that builder. So we like to separate those out. And Castle Rock has a lot of new construction. It's one of the communities where there is an abundance of land, an abundance of development, so it's really helpful for us to separate those two. Now, interestingly enough, we only dropped to 33 days. It wasn't like show-stopping compared to the Denver metro area, 33 versus 36, but it does still point to the value of Castle Rock. I talk about this a lot. When we're looking at the very furthest suburb away from Denver, we're essentially at the halfway point between the metro area and Colorado Springs, and we're still beating the average days on market for the entire metro area. There is a strong draw for Castle Rock. All right, moving up from there, next we're going to get to Castle Pines. Castle Pines also has a lot of new construction. That largest community over there, the Canyons, it's on the east side of the 25, is pumping out new builds. But Castle Pines in itself is a long-standing luxury executive level community with an abundance of beautiful existing homes. It is not a new community on the map. It's just new to a lot of people because of the new construction that is drawing people's attention there. Average days on market for Castle Pines is 43 days. When we drop those new builds, we get to 38 average days on market. It's about a 9% change. I was actually initially thinking it would be a much bigger shift, but the reason I didn't see the shift I was expecting is Shea is the primary builder over in the Canyons. Almost all the other builders are gone, sold out, done. We're waiting for the next phase to open up for other builders to come back in with Shea. Shea doesn't put a lot of stuff on the MLS. They don't have a lot of spec product. They really build custom to each individual buyer. So there's not really been much there to cause a shift in the MLS and the days on market when you take out what's available in the last 2 years, 23 and 24 from a builder. So Castle Pines ended up not beating the Denver Metro's average days on market. That surprised me a little bit. Castle Pines is beautiful, it's popular, it sits farther north than Castle Rock. There's good opportunity for views, there are trails, there are trees, hence its name. And in particular, Castle Pines feeds into one of the very top high schools in the South Denver area, if not the top high school in the South Denver area by rankings. So I find it surprising that the demand that we've had for available homes has not pushed the days on market a little lower in this area just because of the school. Heading north of Castle Pines gets us to Lone Tree. The average days on market in Lone Tree was 31 days, so it did beat out the Denver Metro's average days on market of 36. I found this interesting too, as I wasn't expecting Lone Tree to beat the Metro average by so much. And when I'm looking back at Castle Pines, which we just talked about, that disparity surprises me too, because Lone Tree and Castle Pines are very similar. They're executive level communities, they are golf communities, they really attract a similar population. The difference is Lone Tree does not feed into a top high school, at least not that high ranking. Every school in Douglas County is a very good school. But when we have parents who are laser focused on top high schools, there are essentially two schools they are focused on, and Lone Tree does not feed into one of those. Despite the fact that Lone Tree has a higher average selling price than Castle Pines does, it's selling at a faster pace. So I attribute that to a couple things. Lone Tree is smaller, so there is a little less inventory to choose from. But the other piece is location. Lone Tree has a very desirable location. It's not quite inside the C470 loop, which I have shared multiple times, really supports and helps home value, resale pace, but it is very close. It is right along the I-25 corridor. In fact, Lone Tree is now straddling I-25 as new construction develops on the east side. But it is easy to get into parts of the tech center without ever touching I-25. You've got the Charles Schwab's headquarters there. You have so much retail. You've got Park Meadows nearby. You have parks, you have trails, you have mature trees. It is a very easy lifestyle in Lone Tree. Golf course, so you have a luxury component right there. There are mountain view opportunities. You have gated communities. It really has the diversity and everything you would want right there. A little bit of walkability. You've got an art center. So it's compact, it is easy, it is convenient. Comparing that to Castle Pines is removed, it is secluded, it is quiet, very different lifestyles. And yet Lone Tree, you go back into your neighborhood and you feel worlds away from all of the convenience and hustle and bustle that's right outside your door. But Castle Pines, you're driving, you're commuting, you're going places to get to all of the conveniences that you need. So I think the convenience factor of Lone Tree elevates it, makes it move a little faster, gives it that higher price point. So that is the difference between those two in my mind. All right, let's head over to Parker and see what they have going on. Parker's average days on market is 37, generally keeping pace with what's been going on in the Denver metro area. But because Parker is a hotbed of new construction activity, let's back out those new builds, and then we have a little bit of a different story. Once we're looking just at existing homes, we're down to 29 average days on market. So we've lost an entire week of selling time once we've gotten rid of the new builds. So it's a little bit of a faster pace than what the average has been for the entire metro area over in the Parker market. I often get asked to compare Castle Rock and Parker, and I have a great video for you to watch that will give you loads of details about that. But some of the data we have right here on hand tells its own story too. When we look at Parker on the whole, new builds included, the average sales price is $817,000. When we look at Parker and take the new builds out, the average sales price increases by $7,000 to $825,000. When we go to Castle Rock, we see the reverse happen. The average price for all homes in Castle Rock, $836,000. But when we take the new builds out, the average price drops $17,000 to $819,000. So what is going on there? Well, a couple things. Castle Rock is delivering more new construction right now than we're seeing in Parker. Parker has been on a little bit of a lull today in the last few months versus where they've been for the past 18 months and where they are headed. They have a lot of new construction getting ready to explode onto the stage over the next 12 months plus. So that's a piece of it. There's not been as much new construction in front of us. Second, Castle Rock has a lot and it is big. They are building big homes. They have some larger lots. They are delivering a little more luxury. The Castle Pines Village community, which is the gated luxury community, actually has a Castle Rock address. So we're seeing a little bit of a skew for The few properties that in there are $2.5 to $3 million. The short story is, if you want a large production home, Castle Rock's probably your best bet. If you're looking for something established and you want a great deal, you're gonna pay maybe a little premium for it, but you're gonna find something great in Parker. Okay, what sits north of Parker and Lone Tree? It is Centennial, and it is fully inside that 470 loop, and it handedly beats the Denver metro average. That 36 days that Denver metro area has, Centennial is at just 23 days. If you've seen this video, you know that Centennial has a west and an east divided by I-25, and you already know a little bit about the differences. If not, that's a great resource for you. Now, I had some anticipation coming in about which side was going to be selling at what pace. It bore out that I was right. The west is selling faster than the east. Let me fill you in on those numbers. Centennial on the east side of I-25 had an average days on market of 27. Centennial on the west side of I-25 had an average days on market of 21. So nearly a 1 week difference, with west side selling faster, and that is including even with the west side selling at almost a 6-figure premium over the east side. Just west of Centennial is sweet beloved Littleton. Littleton covers such a large area in the southwest corner of Denver. There are homes under construction as we speak. There are homes from the 90s. There are homes from the 60s. Littleton pretty much has it all. Given that it's on the west side of town, I'm not surprised to see that it beat the Denver metro average. Littleton has an average days on market of 32 versus Denver's 36. Then when we carve out separate segments, here is what we see too. If we look at just the very west edge of Littleton, only 22 days on market. It is such a popular part of town. If we look at just the new builds, so we're going down to Sterling Ranch, we're going over to Solstice, down by Chatfield Reservoir, we move up to 55 plus days on market down there. On the plus side, those new builds are giving the best average price at $745,000, and the home sizes are just a little bit larger than everywhere else in the area as well. Sitting north of Littleton and Centennial is Greenwood Village, and Greenwood Village came out with a nice showing. I was a little surprised. I thought as we moved into our luxury communities, Greenwood Village and Cherry Hills Village, we might see days on market slow down, and that is not what showed up here. The average days on market for Greenwood Village was just 27 days on market, far surpassing Denver's average of 36. Again, like some other metro areas we have, Greenwood Village is divided in half by I-25. There's an east and a west. Now, the west side is very much like Cherry Hills Village. They feel alike, they look alike. You sometimes don't know when you've moved from one to the other unless you know the area very well. The east side is adjacent to the Denver Tech Center. It can feel urban in parts, and then you quickly jump into a neighborhood with trees and you quiet away, a lot like I've talked about with Lone Tree, where you're quickly secluded and you don't know that you're in this nice urban area with lots of conveniences and restaurants. The east side, however, can have a little more noise from the Centennial Airport, so you've got some overflow noise, and in some areas it's very loud, the planes are very low. It's probably no surprise, the west side has a higher average price point versus the east side, and my anticipation was west side is selling faster than the east side. I was wrong. The east side has an average days on market of 11 all the way through the first 3 quarters of 2024, where the west side is averaging 41 days on market. I was shocked. Now, there's probably an outlier or two in there. I did not dig in because we are not analyzing that market alone. So if you want to, call me and we can talk more about it. But there is a large disparity. I think a lot of it has to do with price point. When you are looking at a home in Greenwood Village, almost with 100% guarantee and very few outliers, your child, if you have a family, is going to go to Cherry Creek High School. Now, if you are looking at top high schools, and I work with clients all the time who are deciding either only to look in Cherry Creek or looking between Cherry Creek and Rock Canyon, often as their 2 choices, that budget of 1.5, 1.8, 2 million or under puts you on the east side for Greenwood Village and Highlands Ranch, and that gets you into those 2 sections. It 100% precludes you, unless you want a full-on fixer and a smaller house, from being on the west side. So if it's a drive for a family moving here and being focused on schools and their budget is not $3 million plus, then you're quickly picking up a house on that side so that you can get what you need when you want it, where you want to be. And let me be clear, these houses on the east side are not slums. And you would not know if I took a picture from the MLS of an east side house and I put it next to a picture of a west side house, unless it was in a very specific neighborhood that has lots of tall, high trees, you're not going to have a clue. So we are not like downgrading our lifestyle to be on the east side of Greenwood Village. It's just a difference, right? It's this side of the tracks versus that side of the tracks. It's cachet, but you're getting what you need, and that side is selling so much faster. All right, let's take our price point up a notch and let's move north to Cherry Hills Village. Cherry Hills Village has a respectable average days on market of just 32, again, beating the metro area average. Cherry Hills Village is a small, exclusive enclave. They have no east side, they have no west side, they have no new construction for us to parse out. For those of you looking in this area, looking in these luxury price points over $3 million, something I think you will find interesting, if we look above and below the median price point for Cherry Hills Village, we do see a shift in the average days on market. For homes selling over the average price point, add a full week for time to sell. For homes below the average price point, you can subtract 5 days from the average time to sell. Oh, and what is the average price point in Cherry Hills Village for the first 3 quarters of 2024? $3.925 million. All right, I saved our winner for last. You may have been tracking along with me if you're clued in to the South Denver suburbs and who is where and what. You know that we hadn't covered one yet. The winner for the lowest average days on market so far this year is Highlands Ranch, coming in at an extremely low 19 days. So the Denver metro area is at 36, Highlands Ranch is at just 19. They are popping, proving again that Highlands Ranch is pretty much the most popular suburb in all of the Denver metro area. Highlands Ranch is your small master plan community with trails, mountain views, amenities, shopping, retail, schools, library, parks, you name it, all close by. This fast-selling neighborhood with the HOA that offers you rec centers and amenities is selling at an average price of $854,000 so far this year. As you're exploring South Denver, I hope this gives you some insight, some fodder as you are a buyer or a seller in this market so that you have the upper hand. If you want to get strategic about buying or selling, please give me a call. You know, I would love to connect. And I will see y'all next week.